The speed of the blood escape was utterly silent, yet many times faster than lightning. In a single retreat, the figure was about to leave Vermilion Bird Star in the blink of an eye. But at that very instant, Wang Lin took a single step. Ripples surged outward, and his figure vanished into the heavens and earth, surpassing even the blood shadow in speed. In the next moment, he appeared directly in front of it. As soon as Wang Lin emerged, his right hand formed the image of the yin-yang fish. Without hesitation, he struck forward with immense force. His palm landed on empty space, yet a deafening sonic boom echoed forth. Contained within was Wang Lin's Tao concept and primordial energy, transforming into a collapsing storm. With a thunderous crash, the entire world trembled. The bloodlight surrounding the big head boy instantly shattered. His face turned pale. Although Wang Lin's divine ability hadn't physically touched him, it emitted a strange split of black and white chi. The white mist surged into the void, only to mysteriously appear within the big head boy's body, charging straight for his essence spirit. In all his years of cultivation, the big head boy had never encountered such a technique. Startled, the white mist within him imploded, triggering a chain reaction that collapsed his entire reserve of immortal essence. But that was only the beginning. What truly made him gasp was the black mist. It circled outside his body and, in moments, wrinkles began to spread across his skin. His life force drained away at an alarming rate. Shocked to his core, the big head boy's divine ability was forcibly broken by Wang Lin. A tremendous force surged from the void, striking him like a meteor falling from the heavens. In an instant, he was slammed down toward the earth. This scene was witnessed by conscious cultivators on Vermilion Bird Star through divine sense. They became visibly stirred. Those who had been dazed by the big head boy's spiritual pressure began to awaken. No one knew who acted first, but streaks of sword light shot forth from various sects toward the edge of the battlefield. More and more cultivators transformed into sword lights, joining the fray. Among them were Zhou Wutai and Yun Keizi. Not far from the battlefield, within a mortal imperial city, an old man with a head of white hair sat in a secret chamber. His eyes were dim, clearly injured by the big head boy's divine sense earlier. Yet he struggled to extend his own sense, observing the sky's battle intently. Before him hung a yellowed paper painting of a kindly elder. Below the painting sat a spirit tablet with carved words. Wang Clan, spirit of ancestor Wangzhua. Back to the big head boy, he only felt a tremendous force crashing into him. His body echoed with muffled thuds as he plummeted downward. In panic, his immortal essence spun violently. He jabbed his right hand fiercely at multiple acupoints across his body. Finally, after falling hundreds of zhang, he managed to stop himself. With a piercing shriek, he burst upward again. Forming a hand seal, he thrust his finger forward. Instantly, a surge of immense immortal power erupted from within. It was so dense it coalesced into a vast net in front of him. Immortal art, spirit extinguishing net, the big head boy roared. The net expanded wildly in the wind, growing hundreds of zhang in an instant as it surged toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression remained icy, his eyes filled with killing intent. Without pausing, he stepped forward. Just as the massive net of immortal power was about to engulf him, his form blurred and vanished, ripples spreading beneath his feet. The big head boy's face went ashen, his eyes filled with disbelief and horror. He had sensed something off earlier. His blood escape was the fastest divine ability in his family, sacrificing cultivation for speed, far beyond normal teleportation. Many times in the past, he had escaped death using this very technique. But moments ago, Sumu had somehow outpaced him, overtaking even blood escape in an instant. That alone had shaken him deeply, yet he hadn't had time to dwell on it. Now seeing the technique again, his entire body tensed with fear. All the hairs on his body stood on end. In desperation, his immortal essence surged out violently. Suddenly, a thick white mist erupted from his body. The moment it left him, it transformed into a roaring storm that swirled around him, creating a fierce howling vortex. As it swept outward, Wang Lin's figure appeared, his right hand forming two fingers into a sword. With a single slash, dozens of slashing heaven arts merged into one, crashing directly into the vortex of immortal chi with a thunderous boom. Cold sweat streamed down the big head boy's face. His body trembled violently as he was forced backward once more. Deep fear took root in his heart. Wang Lin's ghostly, unpredictable movements had left him terrified, especially since the terrifying heavenly thunder divine ability hadn't even been used yet. The mere thought of that power caused his fear to spike. As he backed away, he shouted in panic, "Sumu, I haven't killed a single soul here. Why must you force me like this?" Wang Lin's expression remained indifferent. He stopped in place. The big head boy's eyes showed a trace of joy as he immediately dashed out, heading straight for the sky, shouting, "Sumu, we are not enemies. This was my rashness, and I will leave now." His heart raced faster, knowing that this was truly a life-and-death crisis. He swore to himself that if he managed to escape this time, he would immediately return to the Luo Tian Alliance's headquarters and expose Sumu's identity. "Sumu, I will remember today's grudge. This time, I will make sure you are ruined in Luo Tian. When the senior, like the blood god, comes to hunt you down as a traitor, I will see how you can escape. Even your senior brother, Qin Shui, won't be able to protect you." The big head boy gritted his teeth, but his expression remained calm. His speed was so fast, heading straight for the sky, nearing the astral wind layer. Once he was outside, with hundreds of cultivators witnessing, Sumu would never dare to make a move again. A cold smile appeared on Wang Lin's face as he understood the big head boy's thoughts all too well. Raising his right hand, a sudden sound of bell chimes echoed within his body. At the same time, the illusory image of the ancient god cauldron appeared outside Wang Lin's body. As soon as the cauldron appeared, Wang Lin calmly spoke without rushing. "Position swap." In an instant, the big head boy, who was fleeing, flickered with eerie light. This sudden glow caught him off guard, but he quickly showed immense fear in his eyes. His body instantly dissipated, and the positions between him and Wang Lin reversed in an instant. "I told you here, you can't escape." Wang Lin, suspended in midair, walked step by step toward the big head boy, his eyes growing colder. The big head boy's heart was filled with bitterness. As Wang Lin approached, an unstoppable sensation spread wildly from his core. In that moment, Wang Lin and his eyes seemed to have transformed into an enormous figure, towering above him. With a shock to his soul, he gritted his teeth and his eyes flashed with killing intent. Quickly retreating, the big head boy formed hand seals, muttering an eerie incantation. A chilling aura swept across the world in an instant, enveloping everything around them. "Sumu, you forced me into this." The big head boy stopped chanting the incantation and immediately, countless translucent runes appeared in the air before him. These runes all emitted a cold, sinister energy. As they appeared, they didn't attack Wang Lin but swiftly entered the big head boy's body. A low, painful growl escaped his mouth. He realized that all of his magical treasures and divine abilities were useless before Sumu, especially considering Sumu had yet to unleash the heavenly thunder divine ability, which he feared deeply. He grew more anxious. It felt as if Sumu had everything planned out, and every resistance he made seemed insignificant in Sumu's eyes. This overwhelming sensation made his scalp tingle, and he even considered surrendering. However, he couldn't accept it. Without hesitation, he decided to risk it all and use his strongest immortal technique. As the runes merged into his body, the big head boy's physical form immediately began to wither, as if all the blood and flesh essence concentrated toward his head. Originally, he was already head-heavy and small-bodied. Now, after casting this strange divine ability, his body grew even smaller, resembling nothing more than a skeleton. But his head, it became shockingly enormous. The grotesque size of his head made his appearance appear horrifying, with veins bulging out like wriggling worms. If a mortal were to see him at night, they would surely die from fright. The big head boy, who had very little hair to begin with, lost the few remaining strands on top of his head as the strange divine ability took effect, leaving him completely bald. Letting out a sharp, piercing scream, the big head boy performed another hand seal, tapping his ears on both sides of his enormous head. His eyes bulged as he fixed his glare on Wang Lin, snarling, "Immortal demon art, sinew search." As his roar echoed, a series of loud bangs rang out. The countless wriggling veins on his massive head burst through the skin, transforming into venomous snakes that twisted together, extending endlessly, like a pillar of flesh, and charged toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged. The reason he hadn't used his most powerful divine techniques yet was that the big head boy still had some use to him. If he used his greatest powers, killing him would be easy, but it would not be precise. Moreover, this person was a 36 Heavens Thunder immortal. Wang Lin wasn't yet ready to sever ties with Luo Tian. Killing an ordinary cultivator wouldn't be a problem, but to kill a Thunder Immortal, especially with hundreds of Luo Tian cultivators witnessing, was unwise. However, given Wang Lin's nature, once someone provoked him, there was absolutely no chance he'd let it go. He always had his own way of handling things. Big Head Boy's life was steeped in tragedy. From the moment he was born, with a head disproportionately large for his small body, he became the target of ridicule from peers in his clan. But it didn't stop there. Not only was his body deformed, but he was also born mentally slow, with a foolish smile that seemed permanently etched onto his face. His mother despised him and paid him no attention. His childhood was marked by abuse and scorn. And yet, he barely understood any of it, always grinning blankly at everyone he met. He had no talent for cultivation. At the age of 15, he was cast out by the clan and removed from their genealogical records. No one could have predicted that 500 years later, he would reappear within the clan, looking almost the same, still wearing that same idiotic grin. But his cultivation had reached the pinnacle. He had achieved the summit of Dao seeking. This immediately drew the clan's full attention. He was reabsorbed into the inner circle. As the years rolled on, over a millennium, Big Head Boy's cultivation advanced at astonishing speed, eventually reaching the peak Yang fulfillment stage. His twisted childhood experiences warped his personality. Over those 1,000 years, many within the clan, men and women alike, met cruel and gruesome ends at his hands. He operated in extreme secrecy. If he made a move, he made sure nothing could be traced back to him. Yet 30 years ago, during one particularly brutal killing, the clan finally had enough. An early glimpse of Nirvana's stage ancestor personally intervened, aiming to execute him. Everyone thought the battle was a sure thing. But to their horror, Big Head Boy unleashed his glimpse of Nirvana cultivation, which he had actually reached decades ago but had kept hidden. A fierce clash ensued. In the end, the ancestor was slain. Though Big Head Boy was gravely wounded, he escaped. He vanished from the world, not seen again until the Immortal Ascension War, where his reappearance caused a massive uproar in the clan. Now, as he recalled his life, a violent gleam filled Big Head Boy's eyes. He let out a roar as thick sinews erupted from his oversized skull, twisted and crisscrossing with overwhelming dominance, as if ready to rip heaven and earth apart, and surged toward Wang Lin. Amid the billowing immortal qi, an undercurrent of demonic qi pulsed within. As they hurtled toward Wang Lin, a deafening boom resounded. The fleshy pillar formed from countless sinews suddenly exploded at the front, unraveling into countless fine threads that spread into a web aimed directly at him. Wang Lin remained calm, a cold sneer playing at his lips as he opened his mouth and spat out an object. It was the immortal sealing seal. As soon as it appeared, blinding golden light radiated from it. In an instant, hundreds of thousands of golden runes manifested, forming a golden vortex that swept forward. The tangled sinews entwined around the immortal sealing seal, but the swirling golden runes surged out, embedding themselves into the sinews. Each time one landed, a powerful seal was formed. Some of the golden runes even fused with the target's essence spirit, unleashing a thunderous boom as each seal exploded with strength 100 times greater than ordinary ones. In the blink of an eye, under the onslaught of the golden storm, Big Head Boy's entire body was engulfed in golden light. He was completely sealed. He roared, red light flashing in his eyes as he struggled violently. Explosive sounds echoed as countless runes began to shatter. At that instant, Wang Lin moved. His right foot stepped forward, sending ripples through the air. On the second step, the void beneath him seemed to collapse inward, shrinking earth technique. It was as though he could arrive anywhere in the world with a single step. With the next stride, Wang Lin appeared right beside Big Head Boy. His right hand formed 2 fingers into a sword. Dao concept and primordial energy fused together. As his fingers pointed forward, the image of twin yin-yang fishes materialized. When his fingers landed, black and white qi spiraled outward. The swirling energy pierced straight through the layers of golden rune seals. As his fingers approached, the seals parted on their own, allowing him to press his fingers firmly against Big Head Boy's forehead. Terror flashed in Big Head Boy's eyes. He instinctively tried to retreat, but he was far too slow compared to Wang Lin. He felt a searing heat at his brow as a violent shockwave erupted from within his body. Black and white qi wrapped around his entire form. His massive head began to collapse in on itself, shrinking rapidly. The sinews extending from his skull retracted at lightning speed. He spat out a mouthful of blood, but it wasn't random. The blood shot straight toward Wang Lin's body. Each drop of blood was rich with immortal qi. If it landed on him, Wang Lin's physical body would disintegrate instantly. After all, Big Head Boy was no ordinary cultivator. He had already stepped into the second stage of Glimpse of Nirvana. But Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged. He didn't even flinch. As the blood neared him, he uttered one cold word. Freeze. With cultivation at the early Glimpse of Nirvana stage, casting the immortal art of immobilization was already a leap beyond the past. More astonishing was that, in the instant Wang Lin activated the technique, The immortal essence transformed from the immortal being left behind by Qin Shui within his body began to spin violently. A thread of immortal essence surged out of him, fusing directly with heaven and earth. This caused the body immobilization art to reach a height it had never touched since Wang Lin first learned it. With a single word, freeze, all the blood flying toward Wang Lin immediately halted mid-air. Not just the blood, even the big head boy, who had taken the chance to retreat rapidly, froze in place with terror etched on his face, motionless. Wang Lin remained calm throughout. His body flickered, sidestepping the blood, and in a flash, his right hand pressed 2 fingers once again to the big head boy's forehead. The boy shuddered, his body hurled backward as multiple blood mists burst from him. Even then, the power of the immobilization art hadn't yet faded. Wang Lin took 1 step and instantly pursued. But just at that moment, his expression shifted. High above in the sky, sword lights howled through the air. It was the hundreds of Luo Tian cultivators from beyond Vermilion Bird Star. Noticing something amiss, they had all rushed over. Each of them was a powerful cultivator, tearing through the astral wind layer as they descended upon Vermilion Bird Star. Their arrival unleashed a pressure that was hard to even imagine. The local cultivators of Vermilion Bird Star had never witnessed such a host of mighty spellcasters, and now all of them stood frozen in astonishment. The moment these Luo Tian cultivators arrived, they spotted Wang Lin and the big head boy. But when they saw Wang Lin clearly, their expressions changed drastically. Wang Lin did not pause. As he continued his pursuit, his right hand slapped his storage pouch, and immediately, the celestial tiger banner, bestowed by Yin Lazy and symbolizing the identity of a true Thunder Immortal, was flung into the air. With a single flash, a deafening tiger's roar erupted. At the same time, purple aura swirled across the banner, taking the form of a massive tiger that roared up at the approaching Luo Tian cultivators in the sky. I am dueling. You are to guard from outside. Disobey, and you die. Wang Lin didn't even turn his head. As he spoke, his 2 fingers pressed once more onto the big head boy's forehead. With a loud bang, the boy's body plummeted from the sky, slamming hard into the ground. Boom! A deep pit appeared, the earth around it trembling violently. Some of the more quick-witted Luo Tian cultivators in the sky immediately began to retreat, grumbling silently. Had they known, they never would have come. The clash between 2 immortal envoys was clearly beyond their reach. With someone taking the lead, the others soon followed suit, cautiously retreating and one after another flying off Vermilion Bird Star, not daring to interfere. This stunning reversal made the cultivators of Vermilion Bird Star instantly realize that among the Luo Tian cultivators, Vermilion ancestor Wang Lin held tremendous status. Wang Lin landed, gazing into the pit where the big head boy lay. The power of the immobilization art had finally dissipated. The boy was deathly pale, covered in blood, his eyes filled with terror as he looked up at Wang Lin. Wang Lin stared coldly at him and raised his right hand. Instantly, green light flared. Overhead, thunderclouds rolled and across the skies of Vermilion Bird Star. Bolts of lightning crackled and, as though guided by an unseen force, broke free from the clouds, surging directly toward Wang Lin's right hand. In a flash, a thunder orb formed in Wang Lin's palm, crackling with bursts of lightning. From a distance, it looked as if the thunder of heaven and earth itself was being held in his grasp. The moment he saw the lightning, the big head boy trembled. That terrifying scene from the rift, the one that haunted him, flashed once more in his mind. This time, he was truly afraid. Utterly, completely terrified. Brother Su. I've spent nearly 2,000 years cultivating. Let's talk this out. Don't kill me. Whatever you ask, I'll agree. The boy's pupil shrank as he stared at the thunder orb, speaking bitterly. He wasn't foolish. Throughout the battle, Wang Lin hadn't even used any major divine abilities. Clearly, he wasn't intent on killing him outright. If he could show humility, perhaps he could survive this calamity. I need a servant, Wang Lin said calmly. The big head boy fell silent, then replied, I've entered the ascension pool and shed my conceptual realm. I can no longer offer my Tao concept. No matter, Wang Lin replied. I have a technique. If you submit willingly, you won't suffer any harm. But if you resist in your heart, the technique will collapse and you will die instantly. As he spoke, Wang Lin raised his right hand. A strange seal began to form in his palm. The immortal being within his body spun rapidly, releasing strands of immortal power that flowed into the seal. As golden light flickered, a dark golden seal emerged from Wang Lin's hand. This technique, obtained long ago from the jade slip left behind by immortal Emperor Qing Lin, contained not only methods to forge immortal guards, but also powerful sealing and control arts. However, until now, Wang Lin's attempts to use them had never matched the formidable results described in the Jade Slip. Even the slave mark on Li Yuan was vaguely mentioned in Immortal Emperor Qinglin's Jade Slip. At the time, Wang Lin analyzed it but couldn't make sense of it. Only after he learned of the existence of Immortal Essence did everything suddenly become clear. This kind of sealing art could only be performed by an immortal. Without Immortal Essence, it was impossible to fully unleash its power. Now, as he activated the Immortal Essence within him to form a hand seal, it flashed briefly and landed on the big head boy's forehead. In that instant, Wang Lin had a distinct feeling. If he so wished, a single thought could wipe out the big head boy. Pausing briefly in thought, Wang Lin understood the difference between these sealing arts and the Immortal Guards. There was a distinction between the two. Immortal Guards emphasized physical strength, with divine abilities coming second. Once successfully refined, they would never betray, unless the caster willed it. Sealing arts, on the other hand, lacked such permanence. No divine ability could last forever. Over time and under various circumstances, it would eventually be broken. Wang Lin was fully aware of this. As the seal settled into the big head boy's forehead, his entire body trembled, and the immortal essence surged throughout him. Even on his essence spirit, an identical seal appeared. He took a deep breath, forced a bitter smile, and rose to his feet. Standing respectfully to the side, he said quietly, "Greetings, Master." Wang Lin gave the big head boy a calm glance and spoke evenly. "Go beyond this star and arrange for the Luo Tian cultivators to leave. As for you, remain here." The big head boy quickly acknowledged the command. With a silent sigh, he leapt into the air and shot off into the sky. Wang Lin looked out across the familiar land, his eyes filled with memories. This was his birthplace, the home where he had taken his first step into cultivation. So many of his memories were tied to this place. After hundreds of years away, returning now filled Wang Lin with a sense of melancholy, a complex emotion, hard to describe or explain. I wonder how many of the old faces from back then still remain. A hint of sorrow passed over Wang Lin's expression. Behind him, a shadow flickered. Pagoda Mountain stepped forward and stood silently at his back. Wang Lin continued gazing at his familiar homeland, the melancholy in his heart growing stronger. Before long, the big head boy descended from the sky and stood behind Wang Lin as well, his expression calm. From the sky came several streaks of light, whistling like rainbows across the heavens. Two of them were particularly fast, closing the distance in the blink of an eye. Within them were Zhou Wutai and Yun Keizi. Wang Lin, carrying his sorrow, took a single step forward and vanished from where he stood. All that remained was a divine thought, which echoed gently within Zhou Wutai and Yun Keizi's minds. "I need some time alone." Mid-air, Zhou Wutai trembled the moment the divine thought entered his mind. Though soft, it shook him to his core, as though he were facing a heavenly might. Terrified, he couldn't help but grow deeply respectful. But more than that, he felt complicated emotions rise within him. To think that after hundreds of years, he has reached such terrifying strength. Zhou Wutai, after all, was the Vermilion Bird Patriarch. He quickly suppressed his inner turmoil, sighed softly, clasped his fist across the void toward Yun Keizi, and turned to lead his people away. Yun Keizi's eyes were filled with an even deeper complexity. Wang Lin's divine thought had shaken his soul as well. He recalled the young man who once paid his wine bill at an inn. Now, that same youth had grown into a figure far beyond imagination. He sighed deeply. In a daze, he seemed to see that scene from long ago all over again. Looking back at the rivalry with the Vermilion Bird Patriarch, the war between the Immortal Remnant clan and the Vermilion Bird Nation compared to now, it all seemed like fleeting smoke, utterly insignificant. Unspoken and in agreement, both Zhou Wutai and Yun Keizi sealed off news of Wang Lin's return. Aside from a few cultivators who had awoken early, almost no one on Vermilion Bird Star knew that the Wang Lin of old had come back. They did so because there was a trace of sorrow in Wang Lin's divine thought. He needed solitude and did not wish to be disturbed. Several days later, on a winding official road, Wang Lin walked slowly, taking in the familiar scenery around him. His steps were unhurried, his entire being exuding a deep loneliness. The setting sun bathed the sky in golden light, casting a long shadow behind him. That glow of dusk painted a quiet sorrow upon him. From afar, Wang Lin did not appear like a young man, but more like a weathered elder, a wanderer who had been away from home for many years. Behind him, Pagoda Mountain and the big head boy followed in silence. Pagoda Mountain's expression remained unchanged. His sole purpose was to guard Wang Lin. If anyone dared show hostility, he would strike first. As for the big head boy, he too was silent, his thoughts tangled and difficult to sort through. Wang Lin walked slowly forward, surrounded by scenery that felt unfamiliar yet vaguely familiar. In his memories, this official road had once been a narrow country path, but now, time had changed everything. The land, the people, nothing was as it once was. As Wang Lin gazed into the distance, several hundred zhang ahead, a vast area was encircled by stone walls. Within, squads of soldiers patrolled in tight formation, clearly guarding a restricted zone that no one was permitted to enter. In addition to the military presence, dozens of auras belonging to cultivators swirled throughout the area, evidence of formidable protection. It was clear, this was the most important place in the entire imperial ancestral city. Inside the stone walls, the scene was unlike the outside world. Several houses stood there, preserved in an ancient style that stirred Wang Lin's memories. Before one of the houses sat a grave mound, built later by descendants. Soldiers patrolling outside the walls occasionally cast glances inward, their eyes filled with a deep and genuine reverence. As the sun set and night cloaked the land, Wang Lin stood silently, staring ahead, especially at the grave mound built by later generations. Suddenly, he dropped to his knees. At some unknown moment, tears began streaming down his face. Father. Mother. Taizhu has returned. Tears rolled down Wang Lin's cheeks. The sorrow and longing in his eyes seemed to envelop him entirely. In that kneel, time seemed to freeze, passing slowly around him. Pagoda Mountain and Big Head Boy had arrived as well. Pagoda Mountain's expression remained cold, but Big Head Boy's eyes grew complex as he took in the scene. He hadn't known where they were at first, but upon witnessing Wang Lin's actions, he understood. This was Su Mu's ancestral mansion. Big Head Boy had never known the warmth of family. In the stillness of the moment, childhood memories, bitter and distant, suddenly stirred within him. Wang Lin stared at the spirit tablet atop the grave for a long time before slowly rising to his feet. He looked at the familiar houses and felt as though he'd traveled back 1,000 years to the most cherished memories buried deep in his heart. He pushed open the courtyard gate. With a creak, the familiar sound rang out. Bathed in moonlight, the courtyard remained unchanged. The dining table was still there, but the people were gone. Faintly, Wang Lin seemed to hear voices from 1,000 years ago, echoing in his ears. Taizhu, how's your reading coming along? Taizhu, you have to study hard. The county exam is next year. Whether you have a future or not depends on this. Don't end up like your father, stuck in the village for life. Enough, you nag too much. I say, our Taizhu will definitely pass the exam. Taizhu, your fourth uncle is a good man. If it weren't for his help these past few years, your father's wood carvings wouldn't have sold at all. If you make it one day, don't forget to repay him. A sorrowful aura emanated from Wang Lin's body as he stepped into the courtyard, into the home he hadn't seen for centuries. He opened the door to the house. Though he still looked like a young man, time had carved a weight into him. He was like an old man, returning to a long-lost home, running his fingers along every surface. His hand stroked the walls. Scenes from his childhood rose vividly in his mind. The sorrow in his heart deepened. Longing for his parents consumed him. Leaving Pagoda Mountain and Big Head Boy outside, Wang Lin sat alone in the ancestral home, breathing in the familiar scent of home. For a time, he abandoned the entire cultivation world. All that remained were childhood memories and the joy of being cherished by his parents. Silence filled the space. In that stillness, Wang Lin's soul was cleansed. Childhood memories gradually resurfaced in his solitary quiet. He sat there in silence. Sometimes a joyful smile appeared on his face, sometimes a deep sadness. Those moments of childhood now, only he could remember them. Alone. His joy was solitary. His smile was a silent cry of grief. Tears trailed down his face, falling to the ground, leaving behind traces of memory. The moonlight waned. The first rays of dawn crept across the sky, slowly banishing the night. Sunshine stretched across the land, spilling into the imperial ancestral city like the turning of stars. As daylight brightened the world outside the window, Wang Lin emerged from his memories. He cast a long, deep gaze around, then stood up and stepped outside. Pagoda Mountain had stood motionless all night. Big Head Boy's eyes had grown even more complex. He too had spent the night reminiscing. The pain of an abused childhood brought him, strangely, a sense of release. What he thought of most was his mother, how she had always scorned him. Her disgusted gaze had haunted his memories. But now, it all seemed to have faded somewhat. The three of them had not concealed their presence. Now that daylight had come, they immediately drew the attention of the patrolling soldiers. Shouts of alarm echoed through the air. Outside the walls, squads of soldiers mobilized as if facing a great enemy. A chilling killing intent surged forth, locking onto them. At the same time, over a dozen cultivators of varying levels, some at Foundation establishment, others as powerful as spirit transformation, rushed in from all directions, unleashing waves of divine sense to lock onto the trio. How dare you, a reckless fool, trespass into the royal ancestral mansion? Do you realize this is a crime that implicates 9 generations? A furious roar came from outside the city wall. In the sky, sword lights flashed, and one after another, cultivators arrived. Their expressions were filled with anger. This anger, in Wang Lin's eyes, was no pretense but a genuine, intense fury. You 3 must be cultivators if you manage to enter the Wang family ancestral mansion without being detected. Regardless of your sect, haven't your elders ever warned you? This place is forbidden to anyone other than the Wang clan members. The speaker was an elder among the dozen or so cultivators, a cultivator at the spirit transformation stage. Tom Mountain remained expressionless, not even glancing around, while the big head boy merely rolled his eyes without speaking. Wang Lin turned his gaze away from his parents' tomb and looked up at the dozens of cultivators in the sky. He then spoke slowly. Who built this tomb? His voice was calm, but to the surrounding cultivators, it felt as though a tremendous, awe-inspiring force had suddenly filled the air, creating an overwhelming sense of power and authority. It made them instinctively feel they must comply, as if they couldn't resist. This feeling was so sudden that the cultivators around him immediately turned pale. The elder at the spirit transformation stage, with his deeper understanding of the Tao, felt as though his very concept of realm was being devoured by Wang Lin's words. It was as if some power was forcing him to respond. Without an answer, he would collapse mentally. Almost instinctively, he stepped back several paces and trembled, saying, This place was built by the mortal royal family, the ancestral home of the royal family. It was also where the ancestor of Vermilion Bird Star spent his childhood. As he spoke, his eyes focused on Wang Lin for a moment, and he suddenly froze. There was something familiar about him, but he couldn't quite remember where or when he had seen him. Royal family. Wang Lin murmured, then glanced at his parents' tomb. With emotion, he took to the air, preparing to leave with Tom Mountain and the big head boy. Just then, a rumble of thunder echoed from the distant sky, and a large mass of dark clouds surged toward them. At the same time, an angry voice came from within the clouds. How dare you trespass into the royal family's ancestral home? I, from the Xiandao sect of Zhao Kingdom, have guarded this place for generations. You have no respect for my Xiandao sect. With that roar, a figure emerged from the clouds. He had white hair and eyes that gleamed with sharpness. As he walked, a powerful aura of someone at the early infant metamorphosis stage spread out. Seeing the elder, the surrounding cultivators immediately grew respectful, clearly aware of his high status in this place. Xiandao sect. Wang Lin glanced at the elder, a soft expression appearing on his face. He nodded slightly and said slowly, You've reached infant metamorphosis. Has Zhao Kingdom really reached the level of a 5th-tier cultivation nation? The elder, initially enraged, was taken aback. Frowning, he said, Zhao Kingdom reached the level of a 5th-tier cultivation nation 300 years ago. This is well known to all cultivators on Vermilion Bird Star. Who are you? Even though he spoke harshly, there was a sense of familiarity when he looked at Wang Lin, as though he had met him before. A 5th-tier cultivation nation. Wang Lin lowered his head to look at the ground, a smile of satisfaction crossing his face. He remembered that back then, Zhao Kingdom was only a 3rd-tier cultivation nation, but now, after several centuries, it had risen to 5th tier. Lifting his gaze, Wang Lin studied the elder more carefully. As he did, he sensed a faint, almost imperceptible aura, a familiar energy that belonged to Wang Lin himself. He recalled that years ago, when he was at the spirit transformation stage in Zhao Kingdom, he had left behind 10 spirit seeds. This elder was clearly one of those 10 people. All these years, has it been your Xiandao sect guarding this place? Are all the cultivators here from your sect? Wang Lin asked with a smile. The elder furrowed his brow, carefully looking at Wang Lin and his companions. For some reason, the anger that had burned within him was now suppressed. It was as if this person in front of him gave off an inexplicable sense of warmth. After a brief hesitation, he spoke. It's not just my Xiandao sect. Every so often, other sects from Vermilion Bird Star send disciples to guard this place. The ones chosen are those who have contributed greatly or possess immense talent in their sections. It is a great honor for any cultivator to guard the royal family's ancestral home. The elder explained in detail, not knowing why he felt compelled to do so in front of Wang Lin. Hearing the elder's words, Wang Lin scanned the other cultivators around them. Each of them was clearly talented. With his vast experience, he could tell at a glance that the elder's words were true. After a moment of silence, Wang Lin let out a long sigh. With a trace of emotion in his voice, he slowly said, "Thank you." As he spoke, he flicked his wide sleeve, and a surge of primordial energy immediately spread out, transforming into countless crystalline lights. In an instant, they entered the bodies of every cultivator nearby. Even the soldiers on the ground, holding weapons in hand, were each infused with a glimmer of crystalline light. All the cultivators trembled as one, and instantly felt a warm current surge from within. One by one, their expressions turned strange with surprise. The infant metamorphosis elder was especially astonished. Staring at Wang Lin, he felt an overwhelming sense of familiarity growing stronger by the second. "You've done well. It wasn't in vain that I gifted you a spirit seed all those years ago," Wang Lin said. Turning away, he began walking into the distance. Pagoda Mountain and the big head boy followed behind, the three of them slowly fading into the horizon. Spirit seed. Spirit. The old man's body trembled violently. In that instant, he realized the man's identity. A look of excitement surged across his face, an expression he hadn't worn in centuries. Overwhelmed, he cried out, "Ancestor of the Wang family." The moment the words rang out, every cultivator around was shaken. One after another, they looked toward the direction Wang Lin had vanished, their faces filled with awe and disbelief. He's the ancestor of the Wang family? The guardian of Vermilion Bird Star, the first in countless years, the ancestor of the Wang family. Wang Lin,